My colleague Dominic DiNatale is in New York talking about the Fox News exclusive on the bin Laden doctor to appear in public for the first time since he was tortured. Dominic, if you don't know, has spent a significant amount of time in Pakistan. He's a very beloved man there by most. There's a few people in country, though, that I'm sure are unhappy when they see his reports because he tells what's going on. He tells the truth of what's going on in Pakistan, much to the chagrin of those who want to keep these type of things quiet. So we appreciate Dominic joining us from New York and to tell us about this exclusive. Dominic, I have to say, a lot of Americans don't maybe realize what's happened to this man over the course of the last couple of years. I mean, he put his life and his family in jeopardy for what he did to help us. And in some respects, people can argue that we as a country have turned our back on him.
That's very much the prevailing thought. Quite frankly, both within the CIA, who were the ones that actually paid him to try and get DNA evidence that bin Laden was actually living in that compound in Abbottabad. The CIA has always been fretting ever since the Pakistanis actually took him into custody and tortured him extensively for 6 months and kept him hidden in a box, effectively, and devoid of daylight, actually terrible conditions. Then he was convicted on what is widely believed to be trumped-up charges for apparently funding a terror group. What he'd really been doing was actually paying ransom because he was being held hostage by this terror group. Well, that's what he convicted. That's what he got convicted. He got convicted for 33 years for that. But basically, it was the spy agency's punishment in Pakistan for him helping the Americans. Well, that conviction got thrown out a couple of weeks ago, and they said there was going to be a retrial, which basically looked like an attempt by the Pakistanis to release him in accordance with US calls for him to be released. What actually happened in Peshawar today, he was due to actually leave his prison and appear in court, but because of an attack on a church targeting Christians in the same city that killed 83 people, that actually didn't happen. We were expecting to happen, and within a space of hours he was actually supposed to be leaving to the court, and we've actually just learnt that it didn't happen, but it will probably happen on October 8th now, when the case has been set for. So it was an adjournment, and the lawyers are saying today, look, this is absolutely ridiculous. It looks like it could be another setup because basically the defense, the prosecution, wants to charge him on precisely the same charges and just pick up from the end of the trial, whereas the defence lawyer is saying we need to retry this guy from the start and prove that this is absolute load of nonsense and the guy should be freed. We're going to see whether that happens, but it's an extraordinary turn of events that we're prepared to bring him out in public, Adam.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting, too, when I was reading this morning your report, and at the same time watching the president, as you know, words are powerful. And the president talked about the bombing in Peshawar, which is, of course, where this trial was supposed to begin. It's now been postponed until October because of the deteriorating security situation. And you can make the argument that this security situation in the country has been deteriorated for, gosh, it was 11 years ago that I was there, so it's really not gotten much stronger in those 11 years. In fact, it's gotten worse, I would argue. But when the president spoke of that attack, which has postponed this trial, he didn't even mention Christians. He said people. And it was an attack on a Christian church, as you know. Are those words, or those lack of words, calling out the Pakistanis? It kind of falls in line with the fact that we haven't called them out for the way they've treated this man.
Absolutely. Just with regards to the president's words today, look, the State Department and the president himself are absolutely paranoid about not upsetting the Pakistanis, because basically we are paying the Pakistanis not to encourage more militants to set out and attack America. That's what the $2 billion in aid is all about. And so the president is, and the current administration, who is not capable of properly dealing with the Pakistanis, considering how they are, quite frankly, our worst ally in helping us fight terrorism. They're just too scared to deal with them, so he's pussyfooting around them, quite frankly, there. And when he says people, it was the majority of Christians, and the reason they've actually been singled out is because what's happened in the tribal region since the killing of Osama bin Laden, they think there's a Western conspiracy to destabilise not just Pakistan, but the tribal region itself, and so the Christians are being seen as one of those targets because they associate Christianity, frankly, with the West. They're also a minority religion needed to pick on. We haven't had anybody claim responsibility for this church attack.
Right.
But we do. I think that will be forthcoming. But that's the context of the environment that these people up there were living in. And yes, some Muslims were killed because it was ball bearings they had attached to their jackets, the suicide killers. But it was majority Christians, and it was a very focused attack on that area of the community, Adam.
Dominic, we have to go, but I have to ask you one question, short as answer as possible, even a yes or no if you have to. when this trial does start, if it does start in October, do you think Afridi is going to get a fair trial? Do you honestly think he can get a fair trial in Peshawar?
No, because it's conditional on the ISI and when they want to let him go. Pakistan's spy agency are controlling this.
For more on this great story that an exclusive that Dominic got.